Alright, today is a tutorial. It's going to be one of a couple different series videos to kind of help you break down the Weebly website project. So the Weebly website project, if I can say it, is focused on literary patterns. It is meant to be a student resource, and it's supposed to be an analytical website. Basically, what I'd like to do is in this little paragraph. You're going to be creating a project to celebrate and analyze key literary patterns in The Great Gatsby in our overall third unit. The goal is to show comprehension and analysis of these patterns or motifs or symbolism. There's a lot of different directions. These aren't quite themes, so it's not that I'm looking for theme analysis. I'm looking for the way that the authors kind of use this motif or this repetitious idea or symbol or structure, and it's seen not just in Gatsby but in other works of literature. So when you do this, you're going to present this information as if this were a real legitimate student resource that would pop up if students had to research literary patterns. And I want your guys' websites to be the answer to that question. So pretend you're a student and ask yourself, what is a literary pattern? What kind of resource would you want to pop up for this project? And that's what you're going to create. So although it's a project and it's going to have some visual stuff going on, the reality is it's also quality writing. And there are going to be some writing components that you want to make sure you take care of. You are going to be looking at analysis, which is why. Why does the writer do what they do? Analysis also includes craft, and it includes the way something is put together. And you're also going to discuss why these patterns are important. Like, why would we need these patterns past this class? Why would we need them in classes like AP or college? Why would we need these patterns when you're at home watching TV or a movie? So those are all things to kind of think about. So today we're going to do this. We're going to look at two of the writing requirements. The first is the home page, and then the second is your Gatsby analysis, which I separated into 2 pages. So we're going to do an activity and we're going to read through these examples today in class. But what I'd like you to do is kind of look at it as I put it on the page for the Weebly website project. So my home page right now is actually kind of basic. It's not supposed to be overly done. It is an introduction. This first paragraph explains the purpose of the website. It's a welcome, but it's basically saying the purpose directly. The second thing is just a little bit of discussion to get the reader into the mindset of what I'm talking about. So I used a quote to help explain literary patterns. You might give some examples. You could do a narrative. You could do a scenario. You could maybe put a little video in there. You could do a test. You could do a list. There's a lot of different options. Maybe you do a series of pictures and you highlight the literary pattern. But basically, this is like a lead. So my lead is informative, and it's a quote, and then I highlight the quote here as a visual element. And then finally, I give direction. Please explore the website, and I'm just kind of helping my reader get into the mindset. So my intro writing is actually pretty minimal. Like I said, it's purpose, it's direction, and then this thing right here is a lead. We're going to call it a lead, but it's just a hook. It's to get the reader into the page itself. So right now these are flipped. This actually should be the second page, which is my inspiration. We will talk about this one tomorrow. But today, after you get your home page figured out, you and your partner might decide how you want to organize this. Because this is a partner project, the number one worst thing you could do is just assign one page to each student and then put it together, because the writing elements are not going to match. They're going to have different voice and different structures. So you want to make sure that you guys work together to make this fluid so it feels like one cohesive website. So then my inspiration. So I'm going to talk out my inspiration. So I did kind of a very basic intro title to draw it in, and then I went into my inspiration. So I decided to be very narrative with this. I was informative and gave some context in relationship to the class. And then I talked about what my inspiration was. Mine was chapter 7. Now, your inspiration could be something else. It doesn't have to be this. It could be maybe you are inspired by flowers, and that's why you thought the name Daisy stood out to you. Maybe you had a really important quote that stood out to you from the chapter. Maybe there was some visualization you did that you wanted to kind of highlight. I don't know. But this is, once again, it's kind of just a little bit of a narrative component. And then I go into the analysis. My analysis is 2 chunks. I have my first analysis chunk, and then I have my second analysis chunk. And I'm going to cough in a minute, so I apologize. So if you guys remember at the start of the year, we did some stuff with a me mentor text. This is a direct influence of that. I kind of embraced the funny titles, and I used that to kind of shape my 2 big arguments. So my first big argument is an overview of the book itself. I go into my inspiration a little bit more. I do have a little bit of summary to help place it, but I do not overdo it, because when you start to do too much summary, it's not really giving any new information to the audience member. I can get summary from SparkNotes. My issue is analysis. So the analysis is actually how I talk about meals in relationship to the book and why that's important. So I give a little bit of context here. You can definitely see I'm using quote integration, and I'm being very stylish about my quote integration. And then I go into my first big analysis point, which is the chapter 7 analysis. And I really illustrate why food is important and what it means in relationship to the book and The Great Gatsby. My second analysis point, also from chapter 7, but it's kind of builds off of characterization too. So if you notice, I'm building on craft devices here, but this one goes into my second big idea, which is the cold chicken. And then I talk about how it's symbolic and ironic, which is more craft discussion. And then I go down to characterization, where I explain what I think about these 2 characters and how the meals help illustrate them. And what you'll notice is I talk several different craft devices. I talk several different moments of analysis. It is broken up into a couple different paragraphs. It's not like analysis point 1, analysis point 2, and then 2 chunky paragraphs. I play with voice, so this goes back to the This I Believe essay. I'm definitely playing around with some things that we did in the Tragic Hero paper, where my structure is kind of more progressive and chunked into different ideas and different voice moments like this, that cold chicken. And then this is my conclusion. And it's just me kind of talking about Gatsby in relationship to the literary pattern. And once again, I am calling out to the student audience that supposedly is reading the website. So that is kind of the big ideas for today. You got the home page, you got the inspiration or Gatsby page, and realize you can change this. You don't have to do my inspiration. You might just talk about Gatsby, a book of seasons or something. Maybe you talk about, maybe you make the claim or argument that Gatsby is a classic weather story book. Maybe you argue that names are Fitzgerald's finest hour in The Great Gatsby. I don't know, but this was kind of how I did it, and I really encourage you guys to see how you want to structure it, especially because you have 2 people brainstorming the concept together now as a pair project. So good luck.